What I'm about to tell you right now might seem unbelievable, but once I present all the evidence and documents, as we always do, you'll not only believe it but be completely convinced that Israel attacked the United States of America. America, often labeled the world's policeman, is given that title because it intervenes in almost every nation's foreign affairs. Whether it's any war, any conflict, or even the slightest dispute between two countries, America decides to exploit its power as the global enforcer. Not out of a genuine desire to end conflicts and secure world peace, but for hidden, ulterior motives that all serve its own interests. In 1967, during the Nakba War between Egypt and the Zionist entity, America suffered a severe blow, a contrived attack that the U.S. refused to discuss publicly and chose to leave as one of history's mysteries. But today, we're going to reveal the details of that mystery, and we'll expose it on camera. During the Nakba of 1967, the American ship USS Liberty was cruising the Mediterranean Sea on an intelligence-gathering mission. As a vessel operated under the auspices of the American CIA, its task was to monitor all communications from every party involved in the conflict, whether from the Zionist entity, Egypt, Jordan, or Syria. During the war, the head of Israeli naval operations, Issachar, reported that gunfire had been directed at the Israeli army in El Arish in Sinai, even though the only ship in the area was the American warship USS Liberty. What happened next was that the Israeli air and naval forces attacked the ship on June 8, resulting in 34 crew members being killed and 172 injured out of a total of 294. Although America had recently announced that it had no naval forces nearby, the USS Liberty had been assigned an intelligence mission. Due to a failure in communications between the ship and the American government, the vessel did not receive any orders to keep a distance of more than 100 miles from the battle zone. Consequently, the ship sailed just 14 miles off the Sinai coast. The head of Israeli air operations, Shmuel Keslav, ordered Israeli fighter pilots to destroy the ship if they confirmed it was a military vessel, while awaiting the arrival of the naval unit for the attack. Initially, Israeli Mirage jets took off and began assaulting the American ship for 20 minutes. During that time, the ship's radio operators clearly broadcast that the vessel was under attack by unidentified forces and urgently needed help. Unfortunately, their transmitter was damaged in the assault, so they resorted to manual repairs and sent out a distress call that was picked up by the 6th Fleet. Captain Joseph Talley, commander of the USS Saratoga aircraft carrier, was informed of the attack and dispatched 2 Phantom fighter jets to assist. But then something very strange happened. U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Strange McKenmar ordered the fighter jets to retreat, a decision that is almost unthinkable coming from a defense secretary. This, however, reveals that it was actually President Lyndon Johnson who gave those orders. After the American fighter jets returned to the USS Saratoga, Israeli aircraft launched a second wave of attack, and from that point on, events took a bizarre turn. The situation grew even stranger. The commander of the Israeli squadron later reported in his account that the ship did not display any flag indicating any nation, even though the squad that executed the first attack had identified it as flying the American flag. While Keslav maintained that the vessel was American, on the other hand, Moshe Oren, commander of the Israeli naval boats, stated that he had not received that information. Instead, the intelligence he got was that the ship was an Egyptian vessel named Al-Crazier. Acting on that, he ordered 3 combat boats to attack the ship with torpedoes. Even though after the second aerial wave the ship's American identity was confirmed, Moshe Oren still ordered the torpedo strike. Israel later attempted to justify its actions by claiming that the attack was a case of mistaken identity due to a misidentification of the ship. However, the Israeli explanation was clearly flawed for several reasons. First, the Israeli military had jammed American radio frequencies even as they claimed that the ship was Egyptian. Moreover, there was a significant discrepancy between the 2 vessels. The Egyptian ship is about 5 times smaller than the American one, and its appearance is entirely different. It is inconceivable that all the Israeli aircraft could have misidentified the ship's size, shape, and identity. Even more suspicious, the Israeli aircraft were flying without any identifying markings at all. All symbols that denote Israeli aviation had been removed. But the question remains, why? Did the American forces withdraw their Phantom fighter squadron? Even if the American jets had reached the scene, it would have been nearly impossible to carry out an attack by the Israeli boats, although Israel later called in and admitted its mistake, declaring that the attack had ended. In response to that call, the U.S. Defense Secretary ordered the American fighter jets to withdraw once again, yet the Israeli assault resumed and continued for a total of 80 minutes. The American embassy in Tel Aviv eventually announced that Israel had indeed attacked the ship, though Israel never clearly specified the vessel's true identity. After the final assault, the USS Liberty sent out another distress call, this time received by the USS America aircraft carrier, which dispatched 2 ships to assist the crew. Once the rescue boats were deployed, they too came under renewed attack by Israeli warboats, preventing many crew members from being evacuated. After the Israeli attack ended, lasting 2 hours, the ship set course for Malta, where the story then took a very mysterious and suspicious turn. The commander of the 6th Fleet, a seasoned naval officer, almost reached the ship when he ordered its survivors to remove the ship's name from their official uniforms. He further instructed them not to disembark onto shore after changing from their military uniforms into civilian clothes, and he forbade them from giving any press interviews or discussing the incident under any circumstances, even among themselves. Thus, the attack on the ship remains one of history's unsolved mysteries. Both the Israeli and American sides have offered differing accounts of the incident. One of the rescue crew members, Captain Dr. Richard Kiefer, was awarded the Silver Star for his continuous assistance to the ship's crew for 28 consecutive hours, even though he sustained serious injuries. Captain William McNaugle received the Medal of Honor for his heroic efforts during the severe Israeli air assault on the ship, after which a large number of the vessel's crew were killed with severe injuries. He noted that the aircraft attacked the ship from every direction, and that the assault was a coordinated effort involving both Israeli air and naval forces, clear evidence that the attack was meticulously planned. Moreover, high-ranking American officials were aware that the attack on the American vessel was deliberate, yet they chose to keep the matter under wraps and refrain from bringing charges against Israel. Not only that, but the media was fed misleading information, and an investigative report spanning 600 pages was compiled. However, there were many serious reservations about the report's accuracy, as it did not include any details about the unmarked Israeli aircraft involved in the attack on the rescue boats, or even mention the jamming of the American radio. Furthermore, it omitted the retrieval of the American fighter jets, which was ordered by Defense Secretary McNamara. This was the only instance in American history in which the investigation panel refused to accept any testimony from crew members who survived the attack. One crew member, named Bill May, was even issued a new identity card under the name Smith and confined in a separate room with a group of other patients. An American naval officer told him that his new name was Smith, that he had never been on the ship, and that he was forbidden from ever discussing the incident. Even the Medal of Honor Association later declared that Captain McNaugle's medal was awarded for his actions during the Vietnam War, not for the Israeli attack near the Sinai Peninsula. The USS Liberty's records were altered to align with the Israeli version of events, which claims that the attack lasted only 20 minutes rather than 2 hours, and that the Israeli air assault ceased as soon as it was recognized that the vessel belonged to the American Navy. But why was the attack carried out? The head of the U.S. National Security Agency, Marshall Carter, later stated that he believed the Israeli attack was deliberate, to help them maintain the secrecy of their military operations. This is because the USS Liberty was a crucial vessel, whose mission was to intercept communications and conversations from all sides of the conflict, whether from Egypt or even Israel, and it was capable of recording every military transmission, including operations and assaults on Sinai and the Golan Heights. The only solution to preserve the secrecy of their operations was to destroy the ship and eliminate its entire crew. After the communications recorded by the USS Liberty were leaked, the story was confirmed and the mystery solved. Following the arrival of Israeli aircraft at the ship and the execution of the first attack, the Israelis reported that the ship was American. Yet their war room ordered them to attack again. Even though the air squadron's commander reiterated that the vessel was American, he then received orders to continue the assault. The Israeli radio even reported that they saw the American flag, and all units were informed of this before the attack resumed. This is what the U.S. National Security Agency's surveillance aircraft recorded during the Israeli assault. Sometime later, the real reason behind the destruction of the USS Liberty became apparent. The overall commander of the Zionist forces, Mishi Dayan, had ordered the attack on the ship in order to tighten the Zionist army's grip on the battlefield. He had received orders to execute Egyptian prisoners rather than waste time transporting and securing them. After all, the Zionist forces, known for treachery and a lack of honor, were notorious in that regard. I speak as their military historian. Ori Milistan reported that during the 1967 war there were many incidents in which Egyptian soldiers, after raising their hands in surrender, were killed. On June 11, 1967, new regulations were issued by Mishi Dayan regarding the treatment of prisoners of war, stating that no unarmed soldiers or civilians who surrendered should be mistreated. However, this law was enacted only after it was discovered that the USS Liberty had not been completely destroyed, and that the recordings of intercepted communications would eventually expose the criminal actions of those responsible, thereby confirming that Israel had committed war crimes. Consequently, an attempt was made to improve Israel's image. The reason behind America's cover-up of the incident was to preserve Israel's status as its little daughter, or major ally. It is inconceivable to accuse Israel when significant American and NATO interests favor Israel, as doing so would weaken the alliance between Arab countries and the Soviet Union. In the end, the Israeli government paid $1 million to the U.S. government as compensation to the families of the ship's victims, and an additional $1 million for the damage inflicted on the vessel. Sometime after the incident, a group of American officers, admirals, and surviving crew members demanded that the U.S. Congress conduct a comprehensive investigation into the attack on the ship. However, that never happened, and likely never will. Let us know what you think in the comments and tell us which topics you'd like us to cover next. Don't forget to support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and activating the notification bell so you receive all our upcoming videos as soon as they are released. See you next time. Peace.